Whether you're somewhat skilled as an artist or whether you are a complete noob, we all know how difficult it can get studying anatomy. Some muscles are easier to learn, but there are some times where looking at some of the names of these muscles and the fact that there are so many muscles on the human body, where you just feel demotivated and defeated. Looking at some of these muscles, you think you're casting some type of magic spell. But if I told you there is a way that makes it easier to study and remember these muscles and basic anatomy overall? You see, that's where I got you. What up, YouTube? It's your boy Double M, and I'm coming back at you with something I recently came up with after studying anatomy for a while. So let me show you what I got. Before we start with anything, it's important you understand that this isn't a video to teach you anatomy, but instead is one that shows you how to learn and study anatomy. This is just an easier method of understanding and processing the muscles of the human body. You still need to put the work in and study the anatomy. So this makes studying anatomy easier, not easy. Studying anatomy will still be a bit difficult, but I feel like you'd be better off with this guide than you would be without it. You guys may not know, but other than partaking in the stressful activity of illustration and animation, I lift. And as an artist that takes lifting somewhat seriously, look, it's not crucial to supplement all your drawing skills, nor is it detrimental to your skills if you don't lift. But I will say it definitely helps a lot, like a lot, especially with studying anatomy. Let me take you through a bit of lifting terminology. In the world of lifting, there are different ways to split your training sessions in a week called workout splits. For example, there is the bro split, where muscle groups get their own designated day. There is the full body split, where you train most to all muscle groups in one singular day for however many days in a week you prefer. We're going to go over a specific split that will help us in understanding the human anatomy and is my personal favorite, the push-pull leg split. Before we go deeper into the split, let's understand two things. When we talk about pushing, we're talking about the action done to move something away from the body. When we talk about pulling, it's the exact opposite, the action done to move something towards your body. In the push-pull leg split, you have 3 days. One day where you focus on exercises that work out the muscles involved in the action of pushing, and another day where you work out the muscles involved in the action of pulling. Then the third day is dedicated for legs, but what I like to do personally is to divide the exercises done on that leg day into the push and the pull days. Because to be honest, the exercises done on the leg day are either pushing exercises or pulling exercises. The act of squatting is pushing the ground away from you. The act of pulling is done when you are doing your hamstring curls, pulling that bar towards yourself. So me personally, that's what I like to do. I just have a push-pull split. Allows me to have more push days and more pull days in a week. But anyway, if you think about it and look at the bigger picture, when it comes to the human body and how it maneuvers through space and past obstacles, it's mainly either a pushing or pulling action that is done. Pushing yourself off the chair when standing up, pushing a door to open it, pulling it to close it, pulling someone towards you, pushing someone away from you. You know what I'm saying? The human body is made up of muscles that mainly help in either the pushing action or the pulling action. Now let's take a moment to actually look at the body and the different body parts that make up the body before we start diving into the muscles and to the anatomy. We have the neck, the thorax being the rib cage, the abdomen, the stomach area, and the limbs. Although yes, the head is part of the body and also has muscles, it doesn't have muscles that maneuver the body through space. So we're not going to count that for this video. With the two main actions being pushing and pulling, we have two main categories for most of the muscles on the human body. The push category for all the pushing muscles and the pull category for all the pulling muscles. I said most of the muscles because not all muscles are that involved in either pushing or pulling. There's a subcategory when it comes to processing these other muscles. A subcategory that I like to call the trunk. These are muscle groups that are on some level still involved in pushing and pulling, but aren't as involved as they mainly focus on bending the spine or rotation, with the spine being the axis. The body parts with the muscle groups that fall in the trunk category are the neck and the abdomen, which means the body parts that are left, the thorax and the limbs, are the body parts that have the muscles that are involved either in pushing or in pulling, that are in the push category or the pull category. Now let's take a closer look at these body parts, starting with the limbs. I want us to look at both the arms and the legs at the same time, because there's a similarity I feel is important to understand when studying anatomy, especially the anatomy on the limbs. It's also important to understand how the limbs bend when pushing or pulling. When pushing, the limbs extend, they straighten out to push something away from the body. This term is called extension. When pulling, the limbs contract, the limbs fold to pull something towards the body. This is contraction, or the more well-known term, flexion. When looking at the limbs, we have three parts: the joint to the body, the upper limb, and the lower limb. Looking at the joint, on the arm, this is the shoulder muscle, and on the leg, this is the butt cheek. Here we have muscle groups both on the arm and on the leg that have a mix of pulling and pushing muscles. But most of these muscles in this muscle group are involved in the action of pushing. The next part of the limb is the upper limb. Now, the upper limb has the muscles that actively extend the arm and actively contract the arm. On the outside of the upper limb, we have the muscle that is responsible for extension, the muscle that is responsible for straightening out the limb, for extending the limb. On the arm, it is the tricep, and on the leg, it is the quad muscle. Then on the inside of the upper limb, we have the muscle that is responsible for folding the limb, for contracting the limb, for flexion. On the arm, it is the bicep muscle, and on the leg, it is the hamstrings. And then we come to the third part of the limb, the lower limb, being the forearm on the arm and the calves on the leg. Now, like the joint, the lower limb has a mixture of pushing and pulling muscles, but majority of these muscles are involved in the action of pushing. What I like to keep in mind is the rough silhouette of the lower limb, kind of looking like a drumstick. Now that we're done with the limb, let's jump on the thorax. Now, on the thorax, we have two muscles for each of the two categories. In one category, there's the first muscle that is the main contributor, the main driver in that category, mainly involved in that category. And we have the second muscle that is more supplementary, but it also in a way is connected to the trunk category. Let me show you how this actually looks. All the muscles involved in the push category are on the front side of the thorax. We have two muscles in this category. The main driver being the chest, and the secondary muscle being the more supplementary muscle, being a muscle called the serratus anterior. Like I said before, this muscle is supplementary, but also in a way is connected to a muscle in the trunk category. In this case, the serratus anterior is connected to and also makes part of the abdomen, the abs. Now let's go to the pulling category on the thorax. All the muscles in the pulling category are on the back side of the thorax. We have the first muscle, the main contributor, the main driver in that category. In the pull category on the thorax, that main muscle are the lats, the latissimus dorsi. The secondary muscle that is a bit more supplementary but also involved in pulling are the traps. Like I said before, the secondary muscle, being more supplementary, is also in a way connected to muscles in the trunk category. In this case, the trap muscles, being the supplementary muscle in the pulling category, are also connected to and make up part of the neck muscles. You see, here's the thing. The reason why I think it's important to look at the human body this way is how well it teaches someone to organize their anatomy by function, not just location. Instead of just memorizing isolated terms like the pectoralis major or the latissimus dorsi, which one is dorsi? Anyway, instead of memorizing terms like that, you understand it as either a pushing or a pulling muscle on the body, connecting the muscle not just to where they are, but also to what they actually do. This way, you start thinking more realistically when it comes to actually drawing the anatomy. You start thinking, hey, this muscle should contract in a pushing movement, so it'll bulge a little bit here, instead of thinking about it as some random muscle that exists under the skin. Now that we've categorized the muscles a bit, we can now start with actually learning their anatomy. But before you do that, one more thing. Diving into studying anatomy, you come across muscles and muscle groups that have these weird shapes. Thing is, it's important to know how to draw 3D shapes and how to use them to construct the human body. Learning and mastering drawing simple shapes like cubes, cylinders, and spheres help a lot in tackling those weird shapes you'll come across. So don't forget to practice your form and construction, especially as a beginner.
Okay,
one more thing. What's also important to practice is your gesture sketches. Practicing these occasionally to consistently helps a lot in memorizing and remembering the anatomy. It also helps with learning how to draw these muscles accurately and further understanding how they are linked to each other, and also helps in showing what they actually do in certain actions. You're drawing someone pushing someone else away, you have a little bit of a bulge in the chest. For example, one more thing. I know before I said it's not that crucial to lift as an artist, but as beneficial as it is, how can you still not choose to partake in lifting, in throwing around some iron, in getting swole? Nah, I'm just playing. Or am I? No, I'm just playing. Look, it helps a lot, but it's not crucial to study anatomy. But at the end of the day, you still need to be active in your life, at least. You need to go outside and touch grass. At the end of the day, this is just a video that shows how other activities that you do help in your growth as an artist. But anyway, let's recap real quick. We have muscles on the human body, mainly involved in either pushing actions or pulling actions. So we got the push category and the pull category. We have the subcategory for the other muscles called the trunk category. We have body parts on the human body: the neck, the thorax, the abdomen, and the limbs. On these body parts are the muscles that are either in the push category, the pull category, or the trunk category. The neck and the abdomen are the body parts that have muscles in the trunk category. It's the thorax and the limbs that have muscles in either the push or the pull category. For the limbs, we have muscles on the joint that are a mixture of pulling and pushing muscles. The muscles on the upper limb, where the outside of the upper limb is involved in pushing and the inside of the upper limb is involved in pulling. And we have muscles on the lower limb, again, another mixture of pushing and pulling muscles. And on the thorax, we have the pushing muscles on the front and the pulling muscles on the back. In each of these two categories, we have one muscle that is the main driver in that category, and the second muscle that is more supplementary but also in a way connected to the trunk. Hopefully this guide and this way of processing the muscles on the human body does help when you start studying the human anatomy, especially help with understanding the function of the muscles on the body parts. Let me know down in the comments if this was actually helpful. While you're down there, make sure to drop a like and hit the subscribe button to become part of the Double Empire. Make sure to watch my other guides, my other tutorials, and my other videos I got on the channel. But for now, I'm gonna see you in the gym now playing. But for now, God bless, and until next time, Double M out.